Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brad Johnson for another installment of the Lariat, and this is a very special episode. We are on location at a undisclosed location. We're outside of VGW territory, outside of VGW property, as requested by my guest here, who has decided to remain anonymous for the time being. But hopefully, we can get him to open up and let's introduce him right now. I'm not exactly sure what to call you, but welcome to the Lariat. You said you had a lot to get off your chest, and you said you had a lot of stuff to talk about, including the VGW founder and owner, Status Quo. That's right. That's why we have a lot to discuss. A lot to discuss about Status Quo and the current state of VGW and how, a lot of people just want to run away from the truth. They want to run away from the truth, but I want to tell you the exact truth about Status Quo and the exact truth about VGW, because I've been there before. I've walked the halls, and I've spoken to the people, and I've worked with some of the superstars there. I know how it is. I worked closely with Status Quo at one point, and to tell you the truth, Status Quo is not a very nice person. Wait, you say he's not a nice? He's not. Okay. Well, what in your opinion would make him not a nice person? I mean, we've seen it countless times. He's helped out superstars who have just started out, people who have been here for VGW for years, people who have come in from other places. He's helped my career as well. So, in your opinion, what made Status Quo not such a nice person? This is a safe place, right?
Yes, sir.
This is a place where I can tell the truth without any repercussions. Does Status Quo even know that I'm here? Well, yes, he had to sign off on this interview so that it could be put on VGW programming. Figures. Of course, Status Quo has to sign off on something that's, none of his business anymore. I mean, doesn't he? I mean, I thought he wasn't in charge anymore. Isn't that what it says on the T-shirt of his little burial tour thing that didn't really pan out the way that he wanted it to? Or no. How about this? How about the fact that he ended Lee Cannon back in July, but he's still doing shows? He's still doing shows. He still got Panic at the Discord 5 coming out. I mean, he just did Insurrection out of nowhere. And I bet you, spoiler alert, you didn't know that he's got New Year's Evil coming out. I think New Year's Eve. Or maybe New Year's Day, I don't know. He's doing one of them. But he's doing that event. Did you know that? Yeah. No one knows that. No one knows that. But I knew it. I found out. Yeah. So he has to sign off on this interview that has nothing to do with him. That's nothing to do with VGW. But you say it's going to be on VGW programming. Well, sure, fine, whatever. But I just wanted to be sure that this was a safe space. I mean, a safe space, like where I could tell my truth without any repercussions, where I can speak freely and just let people know the real truth about VGW. Now, can I do that, Brad? Can I do? Now, if you can assure me that I can speak freely here, I'll take off the disguise. You have my word. I've spoken with Status Quo about this. He says you're free to say whatever you need to say, get whatever you need to get off your chest. And like, this is not on VGW property. This is off location, right? So you're free to speak however you would like to speak. All right, fine. Satisfied? Oh, wow. Keith Donovan, former VGW superstar, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Former VGW superstar, the original Status Quo rookie, the original Quincy McDonald guy, Keith Donovan. All right. I'm the original. All right. I'm the very first student of Quincy McDonald. He took me under his wing when I was 15 years old, back in Just Bring It. I was a little psycho. Remember that? I had the little Chronicle Psycho get up, but I had the silver mask, right? So I was supposed to be his apprentice or whatever, but he kicked me to the curb back in 2006 for some drug addict like Daniel Hart. Wait, no, it wasn't Daniel Hart. It wasn't. No, it was Crazy Kenny. That drug addict. That bastard. Like, he didn't deserve to be in the ring. He didn't deserve. Just go on some fucking street corner with the rest of the drug addicts, and then that he'll fit right in, because Crazy Kenny was a liability to VGW, and he knows that. And Status Quo knew that too. Status Quo knew it, but he put me off to the side. I mean, I said a few things about the Daniels family, and me and Eric had that little hiccup. Okay, I said some things about the Daniels family that I probably didn't mean at the time, but you know what? Nowadays, I'm trying to get at a better place, and we squashed that. We had our back and forth. I was angry at Status Quo for abandoning me, and I took it out on the people who didn't deserve it, which was the Daniels family, because I felt like they were always in Status Quo's corner when he did wrong, when he did things that he didn't do right by the superstars. I mean, hell, he was a part of creative and then had that WrestleMania win streak. Like, really? That's not fair. I mean, he booked himself to win championship after championship. Booked his brother, Quentin Credible, to go over everybody else and had that long-ass Intercontinental Championship reign. You remember that? Or even then when VGW came back with the new VGW championships, had his brother be the first VGW World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, it just never stops. I mean, look what happened to Bash Rob Show. He finally wins the world title after 20 years for the goddamn company. We were supposed to win the championship at WrestleMania 21. But everybody knows that story. But here's a story that you don't know. WrestleMania, which one was it? 17? 17. WrestleMania 17. Sorry, I'm going up on a tangent. I know you got questions, but let me tell you the story about WrestleMania 17. You were there. Who was the WWE champion going into WrestleMania 17? It was Austin Chevrolet, right? Well, Daryl Jones in his debut match won that match, but was fired the next day. And it was because the story is Dave Daniels said that Daryl Jones was not ready to be a world champion. He was not ready for the main event, but they booked it that way to whatever. I don't know I don't know exactly what they were trying to do when they booked that, but this is what the real story is. Okay, Dave Daniels did not want Austin Chevrolet to retain the championship, but he didn't want Daryl Jones to win it. But Status Quo booked Dave Daniels into a corner, and Status Quo was booking the show. He wanted Daryl Jones. He had Daryl Jones to win the championship, but that was his debut match. It's like his first official match. He did like little run-ins and interferences and attacks and whatever, but it was his first official televised match. His first official televised match. He did dark matches, but his first official televised match was going to be at WrestleMania 17 for the WWE Championship, and he won. But Dave Daniels didn't like it because it was just like his first TV match, and he felt like it didn't make sense. But Status Quo was trying to push Daryl Jones, so I guess I give him credit for that. But he still clashed with Dave Daniels, who was president at the time, and Dave Daniels fired Daryl Jones because of a booking decision, a good booking decision, I might add. So that's the only thing I'll give Status Quo credit for. Trying to book Daryl Jones as a WWF champion, WWE, whatever. It was WWF at the time. As the heavyweight champion, Dave Daniels didn't like it, and there was a whole lot of pushback. So I think eventually what happened was Quincy, Status Quo, whatever, he did not like that. So he had a back and forth with Dave Daniels for a little bit. Not a lot of people know that, but they were at odds with each other during that time. And also Status Quo was dealing with some personal issues at the time, trying to run AFW and VGW at the same time creatively, but he couldn't do it. So that was that moment in time where he took a step back in 2001. Like after WrestleMania 17, he took a step back because he was, just all over the place, and he just couldn't focus. He couldn't focus. And once Status Quo lost focus, he was not there to save Daryl Jones from being fired. He wasn't there to go to bat for him. He just lost all control. And it may have seemed okay because at WrestleMania 17, Chronicle Psycho, Quincy McDonald was Chronicle Psycho, won the tag team championships with his brother. But it was still a period where you didn't see 2Q, him and Quentin Credible on screen together because Quincy was out dealing with certain issues. But it wasn't that 30-day tag team title thing, like it really didn't matter because it was the tag team titles. They really only did that for the world titles, you know what I'm saying? So there's that. But yeah, Status Quo, Quincy McDonald had his own personal issues, and was not there to go to bat for Daryl Jones when he won the WWF Championship. Simple as that. And to this day, I think Daryl Jones still holds some sort of resentment towards Quincy for not going to bat for him, not being there for him, and just allowing it to happen. You know, it's unfortunate. But didn't Quincy bring back Daryl Jones years later after he went to the Indies and built himself back up, went to NYX and down to Florida? But does that even matter, though? Like honestly, at the time, Daryl Jones was still pissed off about that. You know, his first match, his debut match, first world title, ruined because of backstage bullshit. You know? And then the trend just starts carrying on and on. How he tried to push Janet Houston to be women's champion. How he tried to push his brother to be world heavyweight champion or have that long Intercontinental Championship reign. Or how he pushed who else? He tried to push, I think it was like Nick Destructo. Oh, there's another thing. The whole situation with Nick Destructo and Twisted Metal, when, of course, Twisted Metal's wife, Maria Rowley, you know this. She was the manager of Nick Destructo, right? But then they got close. They got intimate. Twisted Metal found out. There was a huge fight, right? But, you know, everyone wanted to put the blame on Dave Daniels and saying that he fired Twisted Metal. Well, no, Status Quo fired Twisted Metal because he was friends with Nick Destructo and wanted to push that. And, you know, that whole fraternization thing, I mean, it really doesn't apply. But infidelity and bringing that to the workplace, that caused a lot of disharmony. So when Twisted Metal found out that Nick Destructo was sleeping with his wife, of course Twisted Metal initiated the whole physical confrontation between the two, but at the same time, if that was the case, they both should have gotten fired because Nick Destructo fought back too, and Twisted Metal was in line to be a world champion, but then that got ruined because, you know, Twisted Metal, you know, laid hands on Nick Destructo. He's a small guy, but don't fuck with him. He's tough as nails. He's straight from Texas, you know. Let anybody tell you, the toughest son of a bitch in that locker room back then was not Austin Chevrolet. It wasn't Quentin Credible. It wasn't Status Quo. It wasn't Nick Destructo. It was Twisted Metal. And even at 5'10", 203 pounds, he will whoop anybody's ass back there in that locker room. I swear, I raise my right hand and swear to God that that's what will happen. I can attest to that. You were there, you know it. Yeah, I was there. Yes, Twisted Metal was indeed a very tough man. That's why he ran the training center, which is now the VGW Performance Center. He currently runs it to this day. Basic principle: you're not here to be a star. You're here to help build new ones. That's right. Exactly right. That's right. And I love that man, Twisted Metal. Hiram Williams, I love that man. He's a pillar of VGW. He's the backbone. Him, his brother, the Monster, the Rage Brothers, Ken and Keith. They are the backbone, the brain, and the nuts of VGW. Not Dave Daniels, not Eric Daniels, not Quincy McDonald, none of those guys. It's those four. It's the Rage Brothers and the Williams Brothers. They really made VGW what it is today, based off the respect and everything. And I think, you know, Status Quo just kind of pissed all the way. Okay, yeah. Now let's go back to what you were saying earlier about how you were the original apprentice of Quincy McDonald. Yeah, you were a little psycho back during those times, and you say the fallout happened when you were talking bad about the Daniels family, right? Is that what was going on? Yeah, that's kind of exactly what was going on. I just felt like the Daniels family was always in Quincy's corner, and he was just doing wrong. He wasn't treating the superstars right, I felt like, and you know, it's unfortunate, you know, that I took out my anger on the wrong people, because I shouldn't have spoken about Rebecca Daniels. She had just passed away in 2001. And then, you know, I've kept quiet, really, but I always felt like they were having his back when I felt like Quincy McDonald was not doing right by the BGW roster. He, I mean, not Quincy, but Eric Daniels. Me and him were close at one time. We were cool, you know, because he was kind of like the butt of the joke in the Daniels family, and I was kind of the butt of the joke in my family. So, yeah, and it was just weird, but like I never thought him and I would be friends, whatever. But we became friends. But then, I got fired from VGW in 2003. I was not on TV after WrestleMania. No, hold on. No, I wasn't. After WrestleMania 17, I wasn't even on TV, but I was still on the roster, still doing dark matches here and there. And then I got fired in 2003, and I was supposed to be the protege of Quincy McDonald, but he's on the roster and doing the booking, so he has no time for me. So I get fired in 03, and then he, ghosts me, doesn't call me, doesn't check on me. Do you know who made the call to fire you? Like I don't know. So you're not sure if it was either Dave Daniels or
Nope.
Quincy McDonald?
Nope.
I don't know. To this day, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it was probably Quincy. It probably was. I mean, why else would he not contact me after I got fired? And I'm supposed to be his protege. So what? I mean, I didn't even start talking about the Daniels family in that manner until after I got fired. So, because at the time I thought it was Dave Daniels who fired me. So I was calling Quincy and saying, "Hey, what's going on? Can you talk to him? Can I get back on?" But I'm not getting any responses. He's doing his thing. In 03, he was doing the status quo thing where he was, teaming up with Wilbur Justice when he was doing the Ice Cold gimmick. They had that run with the tag team titles, I guess. A little short-lived thing. But they were trying to figure out what to do with status quo at that point, because he was doing all three characters. He was doing Status Quo, Nightmare, and Chronicle Psycho in that time frame. But I think he finally decided to settle on. Finally decided to settle on Status Quo after SmackDown vs. Raw. He had that last one as Chronicle Psycho. Then he just ditched it. Because it was a bad run. I think we can all agree that I've seen it. Listen, it was a bad run. As that last one, he has Chronicle Cycle back in 04, 05. So I guess he decided to stick with Status Quo. And but honestly, I just felt like, Status Quo just turned his back on me when I got fired. So that makes me think now that he's the one who probably pulled the trigger on my firing. So continuing on with your relationship with Status Quo, you two, you were brought back for a short stint. You were back, and that was at the request of Eric Daniels, wasn't it? Because you had been on this campaign around 04, 05, where the Daniels family was this evil thing and this evil entity in VGW that caused you to get fired. But Eric Daniels actually called for you to be signed back. He actually went to Dave Daniels to get you hired. I'm just as shocked as you are right now. Dave Daniels is actually calling me back to hire me back. And if Status Quo was the one to fire me, I think he would have told me at that moment, back in 05, 06. But never said a word, so maybe he was the one that fired me. But same time, I was just like, Status Quo still didn't go to bat for me. And I didn't. But kind of think of it, I said nothing about Status Quo. I didn't say anything about Status Quo. I was just talking about the Daniels family because I thought they were the ones that fired me. And I never said a word about Status Quo. So when I came back, I found it weird that there was heat between us. I said some stuff about the Daniels family, but I never spoke about him. Like, if I never talked about him, and we were close, but we haven't been speaking because he did not answer my calls. But what happened, I don't really know what happened between me and Status Quo, because I still appreciated everything he'd done for me. I was still in his corner, watch him go into the main event after main event and stuff like that. Even though I didn't feel like it was right, I was glad to see him doing well. But he never called me back. He never. I just don't get it. Like, we had such a great relationship. He was like my big brother, man. And it's like, and then he passes me up for that drug addict Crazy Kenny. Then later on down the line, that kiss ass Kevin Riley. And then later on down the line, that fat bastard Rick C. He wants to just fucking, whatever. When they do the whole 2017 resurgence and bring in GTS and shit and all that, it looked like fun. I would have loved to chop it up with, Grim or Doo-Hop or whatever. I would have loved to chop it up with some of the CCs, but, I guess Status Quo just had a boner for, the people who didn't help him build this company because they were the ones being pushed. But you have to understand, at the time, VGW was shut down and was shutting down in 2017. So they just did that one show with GTS just for, one last thing. And it took off. It became bigger than what it was supposed to be. And then, now that the main storylines were over and all this kind of stuff, they were just doing random shows. And with
that doesn't even matter.
That doesn't even matter. And you know what? No, Brad. Of course you're going to defend Status Quo because you've been on his payroll for a long time, and you're amazing at what you do. You're a great commentator, great journalist, and everything. I respect you, but you can't keep writing for Status Quo because he's not a good person. He casts all of us aside. And, he said he was going to be done with this stuff. And he brings in those CCs, regardless of whatever it was. And then but then he started doing storylines with the CCs. Something he said he was done with. And yeah, he brought back the book. Shout out to the Bully for actually, going through with that crap. Because it was him and Jason Sherrill. Those two were the most vocal about the whole GTS and communications things. They were the most vocal about that, and they felt slighted, and they felt like they should have been a part of that. Even the fun times, like no more storylines, they wanted to be a part of the fun stuff. So they were brought back, and the Bully and shout out. Now hold on, Keith. Now wouldn't that kind of discredit or disprove your claims that he left VGW completely behind? I mean, because you see the resurgence of both Jason Chevrolet and the Bully and other superstars who came in VGW. You see the resurgence of these superstars with that whole GTS and communications era. It brought new life to the originals. I mean, doesn't that kind of like disprove what you were saying about Status Quo being a terrible person, not appreciating VGW, the foundation? Well, not really, because look what it took to get there. It took GTS and communications to get there. See, because the latter years of VGW, right? Like 2015 and 16. Look, when we went to 2K15, VGW took a major hit because it was on the next gen console of the time, and there was only 25 spots for cause. So there was just another season of NXT, which Paul Collins won that one. Yeah, Paul Collins. No, it was Kevin Riley. That's right, because Paul Collins and Jackie Ross were on there, but Kevin Riley won. Yeah, but Kevin Riley won that season of NXT, and then we had 2K16, and we're back. Everything's back, and yeah, I'm on the roster and everything, but I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm here. I'm not really doing too much. I'm not really caring too much. I feel like Status Quo felt like he just threw me a bone, gave me a paycheck so I could just be quiet because I think he was still mad at me about the whole thing with his divorce from Jenny. Well, all that crap. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, now that you bring that up, let's talk about that point. Now that's where Status Quo was most angry with you when you were, you kind of instigated a few things with the divorce between Quincy McDonald and Janet Houston. Now, it was the Hawaiian shirt that she got you for your birthday that you wore at a match against Quincy McDonald, right? At WrestleMania 24. Yeah, WrestleMania 24. Yeah, right. And you were told not to wear it. Yeah, I was instructed not to wear that Hawaiian shirt because I stated earlier that I wanted to wear it, and it was a no holds barred, Extreme Rules, whatever you want to call it, no disqualification match between me and Status Quo as himself, Quincy McDonald. You know, I said I wanted to wear the shirt, and it was still around the time, like, well, it was actually a year after the divorce had gotten final, but you know, it's whatever. I still wanted to wear it. Status Quo didn't tell me not to wear it. Dave Daniels told me not to wear it because he felt that was in poor taste. But I wore it anyway because I was already on my way out the door again. So I didn't care. And I knew I was losing that match. So it didn't matter. I didn't care. I mean, fuck Dave Daniels and fuck Quincy McDonald at this point. You know, I didn't care at that point. I didn't care. I know it's going to be taking the fall. I know it's going to be getting beat or whatever. Now, it was probably my least. No. Let's talk about my WrestleMania matches. Okay, because WrestleMania 24 was the most painful one, physically. But the most embarrassing one was WrestleMania 22 when I just basically got squashed by Quincy McDonald as Nightmare. It was a very short match, and you know, a lot of people think that I was selling. No, he actually legit knocked me out with the Tombstone Pile Driver he did on me. I was legit knocked out, so I couldn't kick out. So he just wanted to end the match quickly. He just wanted to bury me. And you know, that's where that was. 24 was that hardcore match. Of course, I legit got knocked out in that match too. Yeah, so he knocked me out twice. Now I think the first time he did it, it was intentional. The second time, WrestleMania 24, I don't think that one was intentional. I think I just kind of got gassed. Okay, I'll take that one, because even in 24. As hard as he hit me, he still protected me. Now, WrestleMania 26, I actually beat him. I actually ended his undefeated streak at WrestleMania 26. It wasn't my first WrestleMania win. Actually, I won WrestleMania 25. I beat Lewis Ashley for the ECW Championship at WrestleMania 25. Crowning achievement, my favorite WrestleMania victory. Well, no, WrestleMania 26 is my favorite victory because I beat Status Quo. But even though it was because he was being written off, he had the knee surgery, he had to take a knee surgery, and whatever, that's fine. But I still got to beat him. He took the chair shot, you know, he took the pinfall. Cool. I guess he felt he was doing me a favor, but whatever. He came back at WrestleMania 27 and beat me again. And that's the end of our WrestleMania saga. But, you know, probably the most comfortable match in defeat at WrestleMania for me was WrestleMania 27. Because that was probably the safest he worked against me. That's probably like the least amount of punishment I had to take from Status Quo. Even though WrestleMania 22 was a short match, he legit knocked me the fuck out with that Tombstone Pile Driver. And he hit me hard. Punches, kicks, he was not being safe for me that day. But, you know, I take the bumps and bruises and right, whatever. I understand, and you know, was on hand for some of those matches, and it's really tough to watch sometimes. But going back to even further, let's go back then. You said yes that you were the first protege. How did that come about? You were only 15 years old, and you were portraying Lil Psycho. Now you weren't really supposed to get physical. You got physical like a little bit, but you didn't take any bumps at 15. So how did this partnership come about? Well, early in the VGW, like around Just Bring It time, probably the beginning of Just Bring It, before he started teaming up with his brother, Quincy was Chronicle Psycho. He was teaming up with my dad, Kay Riley. He had dropped his Olympic hero gimmick because my dad was legit in the Olympics, gold medal for wrestling. But he started doing like more silly roles. He was like trench coat detective with a black ski mask. I don't know but it was my dad's idea. He wanted to do it. He wanted to do like a weird and crazy character, and that's what he came up with. And he wanted to team up with Chronicle Psycho, and they did that, and they never won the tag team championships. It was after Chronicle Psycho's team with Nick Destructo fell apart, and then he started doing more comedy stuff, teaming up with my dad, teaming up with his brother, doing hardcore title stuff and whatnot. So my dad's my favorite wrestler. I love him, and it was crazy. Like I was backstage at a show one day, and I was watching on a monitor. They were testing like the video equipment or whatever. I was looking at the monitor backstage, and I saw like the wrestlers just kind of like working out in the ring, just hanging around the ring, going over spots and whatever. And I just kind of ran out there to the stage. I was supposed to stay in the back, but I ran out there and I was watching from the top of the ramp. And Quincy saw me. He said, "Hey kid, come here." And then my dad got mad. He was like, no, don't bring him down here. He's not supposed to be out here. He said, "Oh, come on, let me just come out here for a minute." So, yeah, he brought me to the ring and, showed me a few bumps here. He pretended to take a hit from me and, like, pretending that, it was fun. It was fun. And, and I saw him do, like, he did like the cane taunt, because that was part of his entrance as well. And I did it back to him, the cane taunt. And he said I did it so well. I was like, it'd be like a little mini me or whatever. So, I think that's where it kind of started. Like I could have been like little. So he said, because all the wrestlers worked out together, they all trained together, and because VGW was kind of small at that point, so everyone was like, it was like very tight knit group. And I think it was, who was it? I think it was Austin Chevrolet who actually, because he was mentoring Daryl Jones, and that's why WrestleMania 17 he wanted to put him over, but how the whole thing went. We just discussed that one, but actually Austin Chevrolet actually suggested to Quincy to mentor me. Is like I really took a liking to him, which I really did. I took a liking to Quincy very early on. Although my dad was my favorite, I saw Quincy as like a big brother. And then he ran it by my dad. My dad was like, no at first, but he was like, as long as he doesn't take any bumps, doesn't get hurt. And, it had to be during the summer where, he's not in school. And he was like, boom. And then we did that. And then, the rest is history. So what was it like wearing that mask? I mean, you had the same kind of mask as Chronicle Psycho. Yours was silver. And yeah. It was like, how was it like wearing that mask?
It was terrible.
Fucking terrible. That mask was hot. That mask was sweaty. God, I swear I hated wearing that mask. But you know what? I love working with Quincy as Chronicle Psycho. It was fun. Mm-hmm. But that mask sucked. I hated it. I hated that mask. Oh, the straps were so like... God, thank God I didn't have like long hair or anything,
But you had the wig though.
But you had the wig though, right? You had the long hair that I had was attached to the mask. Mm-hmm. Thank God it wasn't my hair because I was able to just slip it on. But the straps were still so fucking irritating. I hated them. But it like once again paying dues. But I had fun. I mean, 15-year-old kid on the road with a bunch of wrestlers doing what I love. I mean, can't beat that. Definitely can't beat that. You can't beat that. So, you speaking on those good times with Quincy McDonald, and it's unfortunate that it turned into bad times. You're saying that you guys lost communication after you got fired the first time, right, and the second time you left. Even with that weird period of you guys going back and forth at WrestleMania, was there a lot of major communication between you two? Because I feel like that those would have been the times that you two could have reconciled whatever was broken between you two. It could have been fixed. Like, are you sure that, like, nothing could have been fixed at that time, or was Was Quincy not talking to you, or were you not talking to him? What was going on with that? Honestly, I kept my distance from Quincy after 22. I thought that was going to be the end of it. I had gotten, well, actually no, because I may have gotten the time mixed up a little bit because I got fired twice. I got fired in 03 because, well, it wasn't because I did anything wrong. Well, at least that's what I was told. You know, my dad was more so like he wanted me to like stay in school or further my education before coming back to wrestling. But it was never really explained to me why I got fired. But my dad was more like, well, you need to go to school anyway. And this is, you know, and I did go to school for a little while, and I graduated, completed. The second time I got fired was after WrestleMania 22. Really, that was the whole write-off for me. That's why the match was such a squash. It was supposed to be a squash. I mean, it was a squash, but it wasn't the squash the way it was supposed to go because I actually got legit knocked out by the tombstone. That wasn't supposed to happen. But I guess they were afraid I was going to try to kick out of the tombstone when I wasn't supposed to, like going to business for myself. I guess they felt I didn't have that much respect for Quincy or the business, which honestly, maybe I didn't. So, okay. But then, you know, then the whole thing with Eric, he wanted me to come back. He invited me back, even though I said a lot of crazy stuff about the Daniels family, his sister, his father, his mother. I spoke about all that, and he wanted me to come back because he really wanted to put hands on me legally, which he happened to have done. You saw after WrestleMania 24, that match where, yeah, he came out there and attacked me, and that was legit. He like legit, and I was already knocked out after that match, though. You know, so I didn't really feel too much of it, but you know, watching the footage back and stuff, it's like, oh, okay, wow, that happened. All right, that happened. So, I think after WrestleMania 27, where, you know, I lost at WrestleMania, but when the Status Quo returned, that's when I quit. Then I was brought back again to kind of, when they were closing out the company, just to do a few matches here and there. I was getting paid, but I didn't really care. But the company was ending anyway, so I didn't care either. So he brought me back for like a year or so. You know, give me a little more screen time in the ring for the end of VGW. I didn't give a shit. Like at that point, I just felt like in my heart, VGW could die for all I care. I really didn't care. VGW was going away good. Fuck it. Then possibly no other superstars would get hurt by Status Quo anymore, because Status Quo has done a lot of superstars wrong, even before it closed in 17, even before the CCs are out there complaining about how Status Quo runs the company, and the OGs are talking about how the CCs are getting pushed and stuff, and how GTS was taking over. Even before all that, Status Quo was still doing behind the scenes crap. Now a lot of the stuff that you heard, you've been there for. Okay, you've heard it. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I do know about the Bash Rober show thing. Like, he was supposed to be, you know, he was supposed to win at WrestleMania 21, but you know, Status Quo wanted to keep his WrestleMania record intact, and he wanted to keep the championship. Yeah, I know that. But then you're saying there's others. I want to give you this time to elaborate. Like, who else? Because no one else has spoken out about this. Like, so is it people who may have signed NDAs or something with VGW, or they just don't want to talk about it, or it didn't happen? Or is this something that you've heard, something that you've seen? Go ahead and like elaborate on that. What else did you see? Who else was hurt by Status Quo? Ooh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked, because yeah, the Bash Rober show thing happened. I don't know, but Bash Rober show is a man of God. He's a man of faith. So he just kind of took it in stride. Hey, that's the business. It's not going to be the be all end all for me, right? So he's okay. Bash Robert Show was a nice guy, great guy, and congratulations to him once again for winning the world championship after so many fucking years. It should have. It's long the fuck overdue. But if you want to talk about people who got hurt by status quo, you don't have to look. You know what? I think. Remember the divorce between Janet and Quincy? They had that match at Survivor Series 2006, intergender hardcore match, and status quo lost to Janet Houston because Richard Roberts interfered. Status quo was actually adamant about winning that match, but I guess he had a heart that day and decided to put Janet over, put Richard Roberts over. But then you remember the attack. You remember the attack, right? That got him suspended. He attacked both Janet and Richard Roberts. I'm a close personal friend of Richard Roberts, so that's probably where the whole, Hawaiian shirt thing and I was close to Janet Houston. We're cool. I'm cool with Richard Roberts. To this day. Yeah, I don't think it was reported, but he legit injured Janet Houston after the match. I think she had a concussion because she retired after that match anyway. She was going to retire after that match, so she got the win. But I think when he hit her with a clothesline, the clothesline was too high, and he legit knocked her out. Yeah, I remember. And Richard Roberts was pissed. Right. But status quo. Oh, that's something else that was kept under wraps. But I don't even think you know this. No, that same night, the Survivor Series thing, because status quo got suspended. They say they suspended because of the attack post-match. That was the storyline. But the storyline is he got suspended really because he and Richard Roberts fought in the parking lot that night after the show was over. Really? Yes, they fought in the parking lot after the show was over. I didn't even know that because Richard Roberts called me later that night and said, "That son of a bitch, Quincy, fucking hit me, and I beat his ass in the parking lot." Because that's right. Because he was suspended for 2 months, and Oh, what was it? It was some interview. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was some interview he had, but he had a bandage on his head because Richard Roberts, he claimed he put status quo's head through a window of a car. Oh, somebody's car. I don't know who, but he did have a bandage on his head. He sat down with somebody, some interview or whatever. He did have a bandage on his head, and he didn't get busted open in that hardcore match with Janet Houston. So that's right. So wow. I had no. Yeah, that's right. I had no idea. That's insane. Oh man, he pushed. Oh man, that was crazy. But another thing that happened. What else happened? Well, when Richard Roberts got signed, he buried him, of course. Probably a few years after, it led to the WrestleMania 30 match where he was all three faces of Quincy McDonald and won that 3 Stages of Hell match and whatever. Richard Roberts, he retired after that. Who else did he hurt? Oh yeah, Grace, when that's right. He fired Grace because she was messing around with Andrew Morris at the time, and then then she got caught in a compromising position with, it was her, Andrew Morris, and his friend Trent Cooper. Caught him at a locker room, and while they were having a show, I guess they weren't booked that night. Sasco fired all 3 of them on the spot. All 3 of them. Dave Daniels said, "Hey, don't do that," because they explained the whole thing about how Grace, she was new there, and Andrew Morris and Trent Cooper, they were more experienced. They came from New York Extreme Wrestling, the original New York Extreme Wrestling, and they just manipulated that girl and did her dirty. And it was nasty, but he fired all of them. But Dave Daniels brought back Grace, though. He offered Andrew Morris to come back, but he decided not to come back. Trent Cooper was not. Yeah, he knew whatever, and that just broke up their friendship, Morris and Cooper, because basically Andrew Morris threw Trent Cooper under the bus. But it's crazy. Whatever. Somebody else that he heard. Somebody else he heard. I think he heard the Monsters. He heard the Monsters' career because the Monster suffered a heart attack in October of 2003. Because they had the Elimination Chamber in September that year. He won the World Heavyweight Championship. Then he had to go on to drop the belt to Quentin Credible at WrestleMania 20, right? But he suffered a heart attack in 2003, and he was not cleared to compete. But Status Quo was like, "Well, I don't want it to be an empty championship. I don't want it to be a vacant championship. I want to put you in a program with Quentin Credible." Now, of course, the Monster said he wanted to work with Quentin Credible too, but he just wasn't ready to compete. Even though WrestleMania was way in 2004 at the time, way in March, the Monster just wasn't ready. But I guess he forced him to work out and eat better, and but pushed him way beyond what he was. He overexerted the Monster to where he actually had to retire after WrestleMania 20. See, he had taken it easy and just rested up, and then started working out when he was cleared to get more active, then probably his career would have been a little bit longer. But yeah, right. Heard that. Yeah, and that actually kind of hurts to hear, because the Monster was actually kind of like a big brother to me, just like Quincy was to you at one point. The Monster he always looked out for me. But honestly, yeah, I felt that when he had the heart attack, he just didn't feel good. But honestly, knowing the Monster personally, he was gonna do whatever he wanted to do regardless. I mean, because he wanted to get back in that ring. He didn't listen to doctors too much. He didn't want to just sit around and do nothing. So that part, but I don't know. Maybe he could have paced himself a little bit more. Exactly. So he's pushing this man beyond his limits. Oh, let's not even get started on post VGW. Let's not even get started into the CC stuff. Let's like CC's came in. I said Jason Chevrolet and the Bully, they hated the idea of the GTS show and the CC's without the originals. But so when the Bully came back, signed on to the VGW to do this whole storyline with Status Quo, and then the whole division with the originals and the CC's, a lot of the guys that came back and the ones that wanted to come back, they didn't want that. They wanted just get rid of them and bring the whole original back and just refresh. But he just wanted to do this whole gang warfare, VGW versus GTS, or VGW versus the CC's and stuff like that, and try to give everybody an opportunity, quote unquote. Like, that's what he wanted. He wanted to give people an opportunity. No, what really happened is that he felt bad. He felt that with these CC's, and then the pressure to go back into doing storylines. The storylines with the CC's and GTS were so much better than the stuff that he was cooking up in those last few years of VGW, the last 3 or 4 years of VGW. He started to feel bad that the last 4 years of VGW from 13 to 17, they were so poorly booked that when he started doing storylines with the GTS and Community Creations, that breathed new life into him, and he wanted to do more bookings and do more storylines. And he got mad that he didn't push the originals in those last 4 years of VGW, the original run, the way that he was pushing these CC's and GTS in a matter of like 6-7 months. Like, he hated it so much. So he slowly started to bring back some of the originals back. because he wanted to create that same magic with the originals they did with the CCs and the GTS guys. That's what it was. Yeah, he knew the book. It was lackluster in those last 4 terrible last years, and he just got mad. He got mad. It's like, oh well, damn, why couldn't the storylines be like this when I was doing that? So he really just got in his feelings about that and just wanted to try to do something different. So he threw a few of us a bone. He didn't want to get rid of everybody because he had started all these storylines with the GTS and the CCs and just sprinkle a few of the originals in there. But the new storylines and the fresh take that he got from the CCs and the GTS superstars, yeah, he wanted to keep that momentum going. So he took pity on like the Bully and Jason Shevra and a few other originals to kind of like weave them into it. So that's all that was. He was just mad at the booking from the last run of VGW. And then like he was jumping on the bandwagon of GTS and the community creations. The storylines were so much better. He was a better booker, I guess. I mean, but it really wasn't him booking it. He was letting the fans book it for him, pretty much. I bet they won't tell you that though. Whew, those are some wild claims. Those are some wow. It's the truth though. It's the truth. And while we're on the subject of telling the truth, let's talk about the truth of the Super Pop Memorial Show. Now everybody knows the story that Nicole Caldwell was supposed to win the women's championship, right? The VGW women's championship, right? Trying to put all the VGW championships, all the first VGW championships were supposed to be VGW originals, with the exception of Charles Dante Dillinger. He was booked to become that VGW GTS champion, right? Now Nicole Caldwell was supposed to win the VGW women's championship, but Nicole, right? She wanted Lodestar to win, right? How about Nicole Caldwell got reprimanded by Status Quo for going into business for herself and letting Lodestar win? Okay, now that's not cap. That's the God's honest truth. No, that's the God's honest truth. Nicole Caldwell allowed Lodestar Luminous to have that moment, but Status Quo had a problem with it. He did not want Lodestar Luminous to be women's champion. Everybody knows it. I swear, you can ask anybody. Ask anybody who had a hand in booking that match. They will tell you Status Quo did not want Nicole Caldwell losing that match. He did not want Lodestar Luminous to walk out with that championship. I don't believe that. He didn't want that. He wasn't happy about it. Yeah, you may hear the stories that, oh wow, he was proud of Nicole for uplifting a younger talent. No, he wanted VGW originals to win the VGW championships. Wow, that's the only one he had mercy on was Charles Dante Dillinger for some reason. I don't know. Well, yeah, maybe he didn't trust JJ Tanaka to carry a world title. I don't know. But I'll say this: that was a good call. I mean, Charles Dante Dillinger was a hot superstar. I'm not even gonna lie. That's true. I love JJ Tanaka, but it's Dillinger. I mean, he was putting in that work. I'll give him that, and so was Lodestar Luminous. But Status Quo had a problem with it. Okay, I personally don't believe that. Although Status Quo and Lodestar do have a history of friction, I don't believe that Status Quo was really that adamant about Brad the championships really but Brad, even if that was true, I truly don't believe that Status Quo would really be upset with someone boosting somebody up. Who do you think we're talking about? It's Status Quo, the Golden Shovel, the name that fucking Rick C gave him, and he embraced that shit in the storyline. No, he embraced that shit backstage. He buried everybody. Look at what happened to North Sea and all the people he brought into VGW. You think that was a coincidence? No, there had to be. Now that I don't have any proof of. But everyone saw it on TV. It played out on TV. It played out on the shows. All of the people that North Sea brought in, they were losing. And why? Now, that part I can't explain, but it happened. Let's talk about Team Blaze Grass losing the tag team championships to Team Japan with no story, no build. How about that? How about we talk about what was it? The whole positively more and Braden Blackwell, was it Intercontinental title? Yeah, Intercontinental title. What was the point of putting the title on Moore? He did nothing with it. Like, seriously, the internet trolls were saying that Positively Moore was a shit champion. I agree. He did nothing with it. And then Braden, like, God, come on, like, really? But anyway, like, whatever. At least Braden got to be world champion. He's probably like the least. Let me tell you something. Like, in my opinion, he's probably like the least likely of the Car League of Nations to be world champion. But he wound up being world champion. Him and Rhett and the other one, the Filipino, what's his name? That's right, Mel Charker. Yeah, they were the least likely to be world champion. The least likely of the Clan to be world champions. And so was Krim Rocker too. He was one of those least likely ones. But honestly, I don't think, in my opinion, none of them should have been world champion. Because once again, it's another slight to the VGW originals. It's another slight to the ones who built this place. It's another slight to the originals. And deep down, Status Quo didn't want to do that. Now, you may think it was because he didn't want to show favoritism to the Clan, or didn't want to be seen as showing favoritism to the Clan, but no, he has his own selfish reasons why he didn't want the Clan members to hold championships or even be on the roster. He wanted to boost up us in this new era that he created with the CCs and the GTS characters, something that he couldn't replicate in their original run of VGW. So he was actually going to use them to boost up the originals. And that is something that I don't want to be a part of. As a VGW original, I didn't want to be a part of that kind of momentum. I want us to be a part of our old school, the stuff that we built, or something that we built that's new. We did not want to be successful off the backs of GTS and the CCs, because that would have been cheap for the originals. Status Quo may not want to admit it, but he knows it's the truth. Okay, well, that may be your opinion. That may be how you feel. But I, personally, I feel like I've gotten a second breath of life in VGW because of the GTS and CC era. Because of the people who didn't know about VGW, the people who didn't know about me. There was no commentary during that time. And I have been doing commentary for VGW for decades. And to be a part of that era, although it was scary, I'm actually thankful for it. It's just like the WWE with the Divas era. Like, you wouldn't have the women's revolution or evolution or whatever without that Divas era creating that need for something different. And that's what the CC and GTS era did for VGW. It created something different, and it didn't necessarily negate the past. It did have a spot for the past. Status Quo was able to integrate the both of those eras and create something new. That is a load of bullshit, Brad, and you know it. You know that's a load of crap. You know it's a load of crap. It was a completely different lane that GTS and the CCs created in VGW. It was something completely different. And it was something exciting. Something that should have happened with VGW in that first one, but it didn't. It was dying. And then they just used those scabs to try to put over the company that they did not help build. Come on. It's just feeding into the ego of Status Quo. He couldn't do it with us, so he got new people, new scabs. Like when if we go on strike, they get the scabs, and then and then when things were getting popular now because of GTS and the CCs were keeping people engaged. See, this is what happened. GTS brought them the views, but the CCs kept the audience engaged because now the fans were being a part of the show. It was a part of something that they thought they were a part of something that they thought they were part of the thing that we built. No, this is something completely new now. This is not what we did, but it happened to be better for TV. And now he was mad. Status Quo was mad that the CCs and the GTS stars, they
were able to create something very entertaining that brought in a lot of views, did something with this company that he could not do with us. So that's why he pushed them so hard. So because he knew that if he pushed us, he wouldn't. The views wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be there. We had been on YouTube for 7 years before GTS came around. Once GTS came around, boom, views. CC's, boom, audience. They don't know us. They don't care about us. You saw the old videos that we put on there before GTS and CC's. Nothing. There's no views. There's no views. But as soon as GTS comes in, boom, thousands and thousands of views. That Tommy Salami GTS Championship win at his first takeover, still the highest rated fucking video in VGW history. Nothing's topping that. Nothing that we did as originals is going to top that. Nothing. Because the fans just wanted to see their creations. They want to see themselves. They want to see GTS because it was popping at the time. Now GTS is kind of falling off a little bit. But I don't know. No one cares. But no. It's frustrating, like, how this all came to be. Like, we put in all this work to try to get noticed, and then it gets the scabs and the GTS yarders and shit, and they're taking the fame that we should have gotten based off of our own merit, but it didn't happen, and Stasco was mad. Stasco was mad, so he started turning on the CCs. He started turning on GTS. Oh yeah, he spewed that same message. Oh, we wouldn't be here without GTS. GTS helped my channel, saved my channel. Oh please. But as soon as he got the views, he wanted to kick him to the curb. And then when he kicked him to the curb, you saw what happened. He tried to use their momentum to push the originals. And that's where we suffer. And that's where we had resentment, because the same buzz that other companies out there push, they create with their own fucking characters. Stasco could not do that with us. So he used the fans, he used the communications and GTS to build up VGW, and then he went to just slide us into the roster off of their momentum, and that fucked us all over because no one fucking cares about us. Well, I see that you're getting very upset about this, and as a VGW original, I see your point. I see where you're coming from, and I see how that may have gone. I mean, the GTS Superstars and the CCs, they did create a lot of buzz for VGW, but it was something completely different in that time frame, or the presentation was different. But it was still the same company. It was still those same 3 letters. And it's still one entity. It's still VGW. At the end of the day, it's still VGW. The name stays the same, but the game surely changed. I mean, look at it. It changed. And there was no spot for us. The fans pretty much determined that there was no spot for us. We had nothing. We had no place. All we were the old or bitter originals. That's the division that Stasco created, whether he tried to or not. He created that division, and he screwed us all over. Nobody was winning. GTS wasn't winning. Communications wasn't winning. The originals weren't winning. Nobody was winning. I'll tell you who was winning though. Stasco was winning. Maybe no. You know what? Stasco wasn't even winning because he resents that whole shit either. He resents that whole shit too. I'm sure it stressed him out too, trying to keep everybody happy. See, but if he would have done right by us, not gave in to the pressures of trying to push GTS and the communications, if you would have just worked harder and trying to build us up, maybe we would have gotten to that point. Maybe Stasco wouldn't have been so stressed out. But you know what? He gave in. He sold out. Got the scabs off of CC. Got the scabs from GTS. And just ruined everything. He ruined it all. I don't believe he ruined everything, but he because he's enlisted the help of the scabs, he painted himself in so many corners that he just could not get out of, could not explain away. Case in point, the Krakatoa eruption.
Okay, we're not going to talk about that.
No, we're not talking about that. No, I have free will to say whatever I want, right? I can speak on whatever I want.
No, we
I have
can't
a little
talk
inside
about that.
information about that whole Krakatoa eruption situation. Now, no, you remember when the Dark Side of Call was about to come out, but it never,
Right.
never got filmed. But there was some interviews done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would know. Yeah, no, we're gonna.
No, we can't.
Fuck, we're talking about the Krakatoa eruption. No one wants to talk about it, but we're talking about it because that's a prime example of Sasco painting himself into a corner that he could not get out of. And I want to expose that bastard for what he did. This is exactly what went down with that Krakatoa eruption. This is what happened, okay? Now, Sasco had a nice little series between his brother, Quinn Incredible, and Lincoln Loud. They were going like a best of 3 series, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it was great. Great back and forth, great promos, tearing each other down, all that, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now, you remember. Well, no, you weren't there. You're a commentator. You probably wouldn't have been there for those conversations. But there were conversations amongst the clan that the Krakatoa eruption is off limits. Well, no, you can use it, but no one can kick out of it, right? Now, Sasco in his I won't say brilliant, but his working, functional mind as a booker, it would have been fun. It would have been good for, the series if he had kicked out if Quinn Incredible kicked out of the Krakatoa eruption, but no one's supposed to kick out of it. This is before they started doing separate canons within the clan. This is actually what created the separate canons of the clan. That's one of the information that I heard from a pretty reliable source. I heard that. This is what happened. See, what happened was, status quo, he really wanted this to be something shocking. And he had Quinn Incredible kick out of that Krakatoa eruption at Battle of Olympus. He put his brother in a tight spot because Quinn, let me tell you, I'll actually defend Quinn Incredible on this one because me and Quinn Incredible, we never saw eye to eye, but I will defend him on this. He did not care. He didn't care about not kicking out of the Krakatoa eruption. He said he didn't want to do it. If that was the thing, he didn't want to do it. If it was going to cause problems, he didn't want to do it. He didn't care about putting Lincoln Loud over. Quinn Incredible was a multi-time world champion. He doesn't care. He was just there to do a favor for status quo and be there, be on the roster. He didn't care about going over anymore. He was already the first VGW world. That's the only thing Quinn Incredible wanted. He wanted to be the first VGW World Heavyweight Champion when he introduced new championship. And since he was on the roster, he was already the WWE champion from the previous era of VGW. Mm-hmm. No, he just wanted to be the first VGW warrior. After that, he'd be there to do whatever. He was willing to do the job. Whatever. Entertain the fans, whatever. He didn't care. He just wanted to be the first VGW World Heavyweight Champion, and he got it. So, whatever Lincoln Loud wanted, Quinn Incredible was okay with it. Stasco, on the other hand, he was just so into trying to, do a good show and whatever. He wasn't trying to be the first person to have somebody kick out of the Krakatoa eruption. He just wanted Quinn Incredible to kick out of it for the point of the story. Lincoln Loud was still going to win the series, though. It's just that he wanted Quinn Incredible to kick out the Krakatoa eruption. Although Rick C said that it was off limits. No one kicks out of that shit. Mm-hmm. Now, whether Stasco did it with malice or not, that's still to be determined. However, he is the Golden Shovel. He didn't name himself that, but he definitely embraced the nickname. I'm just saying. So what you got to say about that, Brad? How you going to defend that? Oh, and then everyone turned on Sasco so hard. No, Sasco won't tell you this part. Everyone turned on him so hard. He had to backtrack and do that whole Magister Dominate thing because it was tearing him up inside. He painted himself into a corner he could not get out of. Mm-hmm. See? And why? Because he enlisted in the help of GTS and Community Creations to boost his channel when he felt that his original roster couldn't do it anymore. But it's not that we couldn't do it anymore. It's just that his booking in the last 4 years of the original one, like I've been saying this entire podcast, sucked balls. So basically the fans were writing the show when the CCs and the GTS Superstars came about. So there. How about that?
Well, not only was that wildly inappropriate, it's speculation, it's baseless, and no one could really prove.
Oh, Brad, you're such the Boy Scout. You're such the status quo dick fighter, and I hate to say that because I actually respect you, but let's not even do that, okay? All right. So I already spoke about the Krakatoa eruption. You know the deal. I just said it, and that's exactly what happened. It's not speculation. It's not a rumor. I mean, I was there for the interviews for Dark Side of Call. I was going to be on an episode of that. I wasn't going to be on the Krakatoa. I wasn't there for Krakatoa eruption, but I saw it, and but I heard the interviews for like the Dark Side of Call that is never going to be released now. But I heard it, and people were pissed about that. A lot of people, and quite frankly, we don't even have to dwell on that anymore. You don't dwell on the Krakatoa eruption because what's done is done. Status Quo had to bow down and apologize for that. Okay, so maybe it wasn't his intention, but he did it though. And why would you do that to someone that you claim to be your friend? Oh, you know what? It all makes sense now because he claimed to be my friend, but then he left me by the wayside. Claimed to be Crazy King's friend, left him by the wayside. And it's only a matter of time before he does the same thing to Kevin Riley, his little lapdog. Kevin Riley is such a fucking kiss ass. I mean, I don't care. Like, he's a great wrestler and everything, but I just have a feeling about that kid is just a kiss ass. He just whatever. Like when Status Quo was doing that whole storyline about shutting down the company again, but trying to do it as like a storyline, not doing it for real, which actually it really did happen. He shut it down, and him being like, "Oh, well, don't close it, no, you gotta fight it." Kevin Riley's just a fucking little lapdog bitch. He's a punk. He's always been a punk with daddy issues. Okay, his dad died when he was 2 years old. Then his mom fucked some other guy, and now he has a half brother who's in the same industry as him, Kareem Hunter, whatever. Like, no one gives a fuck about Kevin Riley. Like, honestly, like when he won the World Heavyweight Championship, I literally vomited because I already knew it was because Status Quo was just showing favoritism again. Whatever. Like, no one likes Kevin Riley. Kevin Riley's just a little dweeb. Okay, whatever. He's fucking punk. Well, okay, but have you had any interaction with Kevin Riley? Have you met him? No. Did you ever run in with him?
No, I did not. But I can already tell you that he's just, he's irrelevant. All right, the world title run was okay, but he's just a kiss ass. Like, he's just a little suck up. Just wanted to get close to the boss so he can get pushed, which happened. That's why he won his season of NXT, because he was definitely green when he started out. I mean, in all honesty, it should have either been The Fallen or Jackie Ross to win that competition, right? And oh yeah, I made a mistake earlier. Paul Collins won the second season. This is the third season that Kevin Riley won. But Kevin Riley should not have won. It should have either been Jackie Ross to win it or The Fallen or James Driston. It should have been one of those two. Because Kevin Riley was green as fuck. He was, he knew nothing. Like, he knew nothing. So yeah. All right. Well, this interview went all over the place, and it went somewhere I really didn't think it was going to go. I didn't even know I was going to be interviewing you today. You come in here with this fake disguise, this beard and these glasses or whatever, and I know you claim that you used to work in VGW. You stopped me in the hallway of VGW headquarters, and you want this interview under this disguise. And now that you're here,
Now we know who you are. Keith Donovan. You're a former ECW World Champion, a former Tag Team Champion, Hardcore Champion here in VGW. And now you want to spew all this stuff about the state of VGW and status quo and other superstars here, and you want to start exposing secrets or start telling stories or whatever. So I guess when we start to wrap this up, I mean, my final question would be, why is there still animosity towards status quo? There's so much time has passed where you two could have spoken. One of you could have reached out to the other and squashed this. Why is there still animosity towards status quo at this point? This has been going on between you. This has actually been 20 years. Because you say it pretty much started in like 03. It's 2023 now. So why has this not been resolved yet? You're asking all the right questions to the wrong person. You need to ask the quo why he hasn't reached out to me, because I have called him multiple times throughout this whole animosity between him. Whether it was back in 03 or 04 or 07 or what, I've reached out to him as recent as 3 months ago. And before then, it was like for the Dark Side of Call stuff. But he would contact me about business, but never about like squashing whatever beef we have. Nothing like that. It's just strictly business between him and I. He never acknowledged that he hurt me. He never acknowledged that we have a problem. He was just stuck to business. Never carved out any time for us to sit down and hash it all out. Anytime if I was in there in person with him, like we were going over the Dark Side of Call stuff, he said he would just brush me off, say maybe some other time or whatever. But we've never had that conversation in almost 20 years of us going back and forth, or me going at him and trying to expose him for who he really is. Nothing to try to silence me. Nothing to try to work this thing out between him and I. Just nothing. Nothing at all. I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on between him and I don't know. I mean, I just want to know why. Like why did he leave me behind? Why did he not fight for me when I got fired the first time? Why the animosity towards me when I was going at the Daniels family? Like why? Like I told you when this whole thing started, status quo is not a nice person. He's not. He was like my big brother, and then he just abandoned me, replaced me multiple times, and I just don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, but I don't get it. I just don't understand. But whatever. Like, if I go to my grave tomorrow, God forbid, and this doesn't get resolved between status quo and I, then I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. But he's a terrible person. He's done terrible things to people who work for him, people who are on the original roster, GTS guys, CCs. I mean, we haven't even talked about you yet, Brad. We haven't even talked about what he did to you and bringing in Sean Powers and the whole issue that you had with him. We didn't talk about that part now, did we? We didn't talk about that. How he disrespected you and how he brought this man back into your life that you left him in Australia. What about that? Well, unlike you in status, I actually hashed it out with Sean Powers years before he came to VGW. Okay, well, that's good.
We hashed out everything that we had going on.
Oh, well, good for you.
So, despite what you saw in the storylines and him attacking me or us having a match against each other, and then that story coming out about us finally hashing out, we actually hashed out our beef probably 5 years after the initial stuff started. So before he came to BGW, we were all good at that point. So I was able to work with Sean Powers. As a matter of fact, he actually helped train me. when it came time for us to have a match against each other. So, yeah, I've actually squashed my beef with Sean Powers. So Status Quo didn't do me wrong. Now, before you speak, because I know you want to say something, allow me to say this. I'm speaking as Brad Johnson, journalist, not Brad Johnson, VGW commentator or employee. You came on my podcast and spewed all this hatred. You came on my podcast trying to expose dirty little secrets and whatnot, and you tried to slander people's names and things. What you need to do is take all that energy and that you have to hate somebody, as much as you hate status quo, take that energy and put it towards something positive. You need to actually reconcile your issues with these people that you have problems with. Don't come on a podcast and start just airing out stuff just because you're angry or you want to try to make up stories.
No, make up stories
because you're making up shit now.
I did not.
Now you're on my fucking podcast. Now I'm getting pissed off. Because those guys in the Claw, they've done a lot in Claw. They've done a lot of good in Claw. Now, yeah, there have been slip-ups on Status Quo's part. There have been slip-ups on the Claw's part. There have been slip-ups on everyone's part. But we correct our mistakes and we try to fix them before they get to the point that where you're taking your rivalries and your anger and all your crap. You come on my podcast. I invite you here, or I allow you to come here to speak your mind. And I run this by Status Quo. When you approached me at that VGW, that hallway at the VGW headquarters, you approached me in that disguise, and no one knows who you are. And I have to run that by Status Quo because it's a possibility that this interview could be put on the VGW YouTube channel. Okay? Status Quo gave me free reign to do whatever. Gave you free reign to say whatever you need to say and get off your chest. Because, I mean, well, if he knows it's you now, he's going to know it's you when he sees this. He didn't know who you were when you approached me in that hallway. When I told him that some strange guy approached me in the hallway and wants to interview, sit down with me and just speak about VGW and how he was treated. You didn't give me a name, so he didn't know who you were. No information, so he didn't know who you were. So he signed off on this interview for you to come up here and air grievances, I guess. But this is what I'm hearing right now on my podcast. I'm hearing the ranting and ravings of a hurt and miserable little boy who is still stuck in the past, who cannot pry himself off of the hatred that's fueling his desire to just cause havoc and chaos. If you really want to be free from the pain, you would have done it a long time ago. You would have not stopped until you got a one-on-one sit down with Status Quo, hashed out whatever issues you had, and just be done with it. But no, you go to social media because now we know it's you, Keith Donovan. We know you now, and we know what you've been doing over the years. You've been on social media bashing VGW, bashing Status Quo, bashing booking decisions, and bashing Status Quo's relationships with the Clone or the GTS or the Community Creations. You bash all those things, and yeah, we all falter. We all have shortcomings. Status Quo has admitted and apologized for all of his shortcomings. He has reconciled a lot of mistakes and a lot of his issues. But what you fail to realize is that the way that you keep coming at him and at VGW all over social media, it's not gonna give him the desire to sit down with you because he sees that you're still hurt and he sees that you're still being disrespectful. So if you can just pry yourself away from social media, stop spewing out so much hate, stop spewing out so much venom, and just call the man, humble yourself, have that conversation with him, or request that conversation with him. Maybe he'll entertain the idea of squashing this beef. But you're out here still angry and still spewing out all this crap. Status Quo wants nothing to do with you because it's all negativity. Status Quo has tried to rid himself of that negativity by making amends and apologizing for all the mistakes that he has made.
being short-sighted in certain things that he may have done in this company when it comes to booking and taking care of superstars and taking care of creations all around. He has done the work. You are still out here being that same angry little child that you've been on social media for the past almost 20 years. So what you need to do is drop that fucking phone, grab your sack, swallow your pride, call status quo, and fix this. If you really want this to be over, make that move. You have to stop posting so much shit on the internet negatively about status quo and VGW, because the more you do that and the more you try to call him and say, hey, I want to sit down and have a conversation, he's not going to want to sit down with you because he knows that you're still angry. Once you humble yourself and you take those steps to try to change, status quo is not going to want to sit down with you. I wouldn't be surprised if half the shit you said on my podcast was all lies or all just made up just because you're still mad at status quo, because you felt like he didn't defend you, because you felt like he didn't have your back when you needed him the most. He probably wanted to have your back. He probably wanted to be there for you, but you just proved that you were just not worthy of support because you were just being so hateful and angry towards everybody that you just wanted to blame somebody. Like, seriously, you just really need to check yourself. Honestly, you need to let this hurt go. Sit down with status quo, stop spewing that stuff on social media, and maybe you'll get that sit down. Maybe you'll get a chance to reconcile this. Because at the end of the day, you're an adult and he's an adult. You're two grown men. It's been 20 years. Fucking fix it. It's over. Or it can be over if you take those steps and fucking fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brad Johnson. This has been one hell of an episode of The Lariat. My guest here, Keith Donovan. I'm signing out. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you guys later.
I don't see nobody.